on sports.
All right, we're coming to you from the man cave, the vaunted man cave for the first time.
Yeah, it's
right by my ear.
Islander jersey, yeah.
It's signed by the. What year would that have been? Tavares' first year. It's my cousin works for him, so he sent me his
number one draft pick
jersey, and you can see Les Binkley's non-goaltender stick about to whack me in the ear.
Yeah,
which will lead well for the night. Couple thoughts. I'm eating dinner tonight. I got a new grill, so I'm excited. So I'm grilling some steaks for dinner. We sit down. The girls start playing a tape of The Voice. Now, I bet you didn't realize this, but The Voice is the modern day country music of days gone by. Because apparently to join The Voice, you have to have some mind-boggling tragedy in your life to be a contestant on. Apparently, if you're happy and well-adjusted, you're not a good entertainer.
You can't be on there.
So you can't be going way out.
Way out. That's where the fun is.
That's correct.
Way out. He doesn't know.
Is The Voice the one that has? Is it Aguilera on there? Who's on there? Is that Aguilera or who?
There's a blonde girl who won. She won like the first of these contests.
Okay.
Famous blonde. What's her name?
I'm not sure. I think I watched about 5 minutes.
Kelly Clarkson.
Okay. All right.
Apparently, because she's home, she won't wear makeup.
Yeah, she was on American Idol though. But yeah.
No makeup here, Dave. No makeup.
You're a natural beauty.
That's it. Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it.
Yeah, but apparently you get that. And then there's this other show where people dress up in costumes. And I guess the premise is you're supposed to be like a non-singer, but you have a good voice. And it shocks the hell out of people when they find out who it is. Except everyone who I've seen be beheaded is a singer. So what's the use of the show?
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Wow, you're a talented singer because you're a singer. Okay, it's like Willie Mays, maybe in home run derby from the 50s, maybe they should have worn animal heads. And you had to guess which one it was.
Say hey.
Say hey, yeah, with a dog head on. I guess you have to wear the whole dog uniform. Could he hit as well in Los Angeles' Wrigley Field?
He could, and you know why?
Why is that?
Especially in a dog costume, just because he can.
Just because he can. I like it. You get contestants, say Steve Allen and a younger Betty White, and Gary Morton. They could be the people trying to guess who was hitting the home run.
And you'd have to figure out which one of them is the toughest.
Oh, I like this. That sounds like a good challenge here.
I like it.
Binkley is trying to whack my head. That's a good segue. I think Gary's wearing his penguin thing. Why not just talk about the greatest tough penguins?
I like it.
Since it seems to be matching here. Now, I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. In the history of professional North American sports, we're not going to go in for cricket, okay, because I just don't know anything about it. The most useless roster spot, in my mind, was always the NHL tough guy. He had no hockey skill to speak of.
Ooh, some.
I can't say I'm full groom, but continue on.
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay. So, some defenseman whacks Gretzky in the back of the head. Okay. When we get to the face-off, you pull out one guy who has no hockey skill with a guy on the other team who had nothing to do with the injury and has no hockey skill, and they drop the puck, and these guys drop their gloves and fight each other.
There's a silly aspect to that. There is.
And this was their thing.
Yeah, there's a silly aspect to that.
Sheldon's getting his chest rubbed by the woman who used to be on Roseanne. The
Nice.
sister.
Gilbert, Sarah Gilbert?
No, the sister. The sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
Metcalf or something.
Yeah,
What's her name? Metcalf or something?
Lori Metcalf
Lori Metcalf, right?
is rubbing Sheldon's chest right now.
I'm amazed
There
I
you go.
pulled that out of my rear end.
That's,
I
you're
probably
nuns
watched
don't-
Roseanne about 4 times.
The nuns didn't like you to pull things out of your rear end, Gary.
No, I know they didn't.
Anyways, to me, it was always Gary Rissling was an entertaining fella,
He was.
but a
He
fairly
was.
useless appendage when it came to hockey. I always kind of preferred, when I like a tough guy, I like a Kevin Stevens.
Yep.
I like a Mark Messier.
Yep.
Guys who are very talented hockey players who are going to kick your ass.
Mhm.
Kevin Stevens, if I'm not mistaken, in 93, 94, led the Penguins in penalty minutes as well as scored over 50 goals.
Yep.
I almost got into a fight with him.
Please tell the story.
That would be a fair match.
So we're at a charity event with a silent auction. It's in the I guess it's in the mid '90s. I guess it would be, and they had just come out with this multi-disc CD changer that you could put in your car. It goes in the trunk.
Oh, I remember this story. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm bidding on it, and I come back over in the silent auction, and I see Kevin Stevens has outbid me. So I go in there, I up him again. This happens 2 more times. So he's over there, and I just looked at him. I said, Stevens, if you bid that up again, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And he looks at me, and he laughs. He goes, I think you need a drink. And I said, I think I do too.
Just now I do, yes.
So if
He's a
you
big
had a
horse.
Penguin hat on, you could be on this list.
I could have been. I could have
He
been
was a big
scrapping.
horse. Yeah, he was a big horse.
He was a big man.
He was a big horse. Yeah.
He was a big man. He was tough. He was
He
tough.
was.
Great
He was a hockey
offensive skills, Dave, going
Was.
against your earlier statement.
Yep.
I mean, probably he was my favorite tough guy. I'm gonna bring a memento of a favorite tough guy. Talk among each other. First.
Well, I guess Gary, let's tackle this part of it. What makes a guy a tough guy?
Well, I mean, to me, yeah, I guess that's right. It depends on how you want to define it. I mean, I think if you want to define it by stupidity, somebody who's just out there to fight and do nothing else.
Oh, nice.
Dave the Hammer Schultz, yeah.
Love that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Who could play, who actually could play a little when he
could play a
chose
little.
to. When he wanted to, he could.
He was damn close to being that useless appendage, but he was on it. So what does to me, a tough guy, Ulf Samuelsson is a tough guy. He was a good
Yes,
totally.
defensive player
Totally.
who would beat your ass.
Yes.
The 2 guys I mentioned, Stevens and Messier, were tough guys. They'd kick your ass, and then they'd beat your ass by scoring goals.
And Chris mentioned one a while back, Rick Tocchet, another one.
I would agree with
Rick Tocchet was a tremendous offensive player. I think he scored
48
almost
goals.
300 goals,
Yeah.
and he was a 250 penalty, and he one of the best fighters I ever saw.
Yeah.
He was a jack-off. He was a jack-off when he played for the other team.
You wanted him on your team, though.
You had a guy like him, you were probably going to win.
You wanted him on your team. You didn't want Gary Rissling. You didn't want Steve Durbano,
No.
who was an appendage. Steve Durbano was an appendage.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah.
Most useless position, and we can talk about that later. Most useless position in professional sports. That would be my vote.
Dave, I agree with you. I think the 70s nonsense of bench clearing brawls and some of the flyer activity and some of that stuff, and even the Islanders too, even before they won, that stuff's nonsense. But I also think the game now, the game's faster and more exciting, like we've talked about on a number of these shows over the years.
Yeah.
But I think something is really lost in, kind of like, I feel the same way about professional hockey as I do when we talk about baseball in the 70s and 80s. Pro hockey in the 70s and the 80s and into the mid 90s had some tremendous skill and high scoring, lots of offense. But you also had big fourth
Say
lines,
the 70s?
tough guys.
Would
who,
you say the
could-
70s was part of that?
Oh, I do.
Late
You look at the offense. Look in the late 70s in particular, in
Yeah.
some of the goal scoring totals. A lot of guys were scoring 50. There were 7 or 8 guys scoring 50 or 60, and things like that. I think it was the case in the late not perhaps the early 70s, only a few teams, but as you go into the late 70s, I think there was a lot of goals being scored, and particularly in the 80s. And then in the 90s, it got really ugly. An ugly game, a lot of clutching and grabbing. But, I don't have a big problem with punishing fourth lines like the Calgary Flames used to have of Jim Kaplinski, Joel Otto, and Tim Hunter, guys like that who might have 250 penalty minutes and would do quite a bit of fighting when necessary, but they could also play. The league and the sport has tried to rule that out for a lot of reasons. It's probably got some of the same liability with the concussions that football does. And honestly, I think that's a loss. Sullivan's won a couple cups, but he's not going to win as many cups in my view. You guys know how I feel about this by relying on small guys like Dominic Simone. I want some of those big guys who punish you, wear you down, and yeah, they'll drop the gloves if necessary to police themselves. Harder to do that in the game now, and I don't think the game's as good or as personality filled without them. But yes, having a guy who just fights a maniac like Durbano, Christoph Olio, who's out there, even Caulfield for that matter, I'm not really sure there's much value to that. But having guys, Stevens and Tocchet are high-level offensive players. There were plenty of guys throughout NHL history who give you 10, 15 goals, maybe 25 points, 200 penalty minutes, and they kept your team winning. They grind opponents down. They kept your team winning, and liberties weren't taken as much. Wasn't as much stick work. So I think it's a loss in the game, but I agree. I think just the guy who could scrap for no reason. I mean, Paul Baxter's a guy that jumps into my head. Baxter wasn't in Pittsburgh that long. He was a pretty damn good player. He could play. He could shoot the puck.
He had talent.
But he fought a lot, and he protected a lot of his teammates on some pretty bad teams.
Yeah.
When we were out there, we were young guys in college. But yeah, it's got to be a guy like that. Having some guy who, there for a while, there was a whole rash in the 70s and even into the late 80s of guys that really didn't have a lot of skill at all and they just fought. That's silliness. I think we can do without that, So, but there's a couple other Penguins too. Matt Cook and Steve Downey. Downey wasn't there very long, but those guys could play a little bit too. They could skate. They had some offensive skill. They were a little scary. Cook was kind of a dirty hitter, not necessarily a big fighter.
Cook was an asshole.
But he was an effective player though when he was on.
He was an effective player, but he was an asshole. I mean, I didn't think his talent was worth what he was doing to other people. I wasn't a fan of his when he was here.
I mean, he was a hit you low, hit you from behind kind of guy. But I mean, I'm not saying he's a tough guy, but I mean, I think that role is now being regulated out. And honestly, I don't want every team to look the same. Yeah. Honestly, I don't want every time you put your hand on somebody, it's a penalty. I mean, the game's exciting and it's full of speed now. I don't think the game's as good personally. I really don't.
Well, I mean,
and not because of bench clearing brawling. I'm not talking about that. So,
well, the other thing too, Gary. I mean, you mentioned Ulf Samuelsson. I put him among the top of the Penguin tough guys.
Definitely.
I mean, just Cam Neely still is disparages the Penguins based on what happened to him from Ulf Samuelsson back when he was playing. So.
And Neely was no saint himself. I mean, so I don't know.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
The Penguins also had their share of those agitators too. I mean, you had Kasperitis.
Yep.
You had Matthew Barnaby, who I forgot about, who was he had that ability to get under people's skins in there. But
definitely,
I'm gonna ask you guys this question: who would you say was the first of those Penguin agitators / tough guys? I have an opinion on that.
Bugsy Watson.
Dave, I would agree.
Brian Watson, I would say. I mean, Watson was not very big, but he was always.
I'm bigger than he is. He was what 5'9", maybe 180.
He was always in the middle of stuff.
Remember the headline when he finally scored a goal. That's how bad an offensive player. Yeah. The Post-Gazette had him on.
He had some guys to protect.
What was the headline, Dave?
Oh, I forget. What do you remember?
No.
I remember they had a thing. It was like it had ... after it, and I forget what it was. I remember it because of all the dots after. I'll have to look.
And then there's the people who become legendary. Like he wasn't a Penguin very long, but Gary Roberts. I mean, he was the one they were making like Chuck Norris comparisons to him. if you remember correct on that one. And in terms of just like one shift, the Brooks Orpik shift in that one playoff game where he hit like, I'm the only one he didn't hit during that.
Oh, I
that
remember
shift.
that.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, that was awesome.
Orpik's one of the toughest guys in Penguin history.
But he's
I
a
mean,
player. He's a
play
player.
through injuries too. He was
But he-
banged up and play right.
But he also did that in a contract year, Gary, and that was huge.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it was.
I mean, I'll tell you a little story about him. We had tickets for a long time right behind the benches, the opposing benches here in Philly. Great seat, about 10 rows behind it. And Orpik had to be his face kind of belied how tightly wound he was. I mean, I was looking at him in one of the games with Philadelphia during the time they really hated each other, like say 09 through 11, somewhere in that period. And you could just see the way he was rocking, almost Leo Mazzoni rocking like on the bench. You could tell like he was bursting to get out there and just start laying the lumber on people. I mean, all of them are moving because they're nervous, but you could see like he just couldn't contain himself to get out there and start hitting. Yeah. And he wasn't the biggest guy in the league either at that position.
No.
But he was tough as nails.
He was an under the skin kind of guy.
Yep.
Under the skin kind of guy.
Yep.
Let me ask you this a little off center. You talked about scoring in the 70s. The ultimate balanced scoring team, the 1975 Penguins. 9 guys, 20 goal scorers. Start.
Well,
Branovo, Chuck
LaRouche,
the rifleman.
Oh, yeah, LaRouche.
LaRouche is
and
4.
Branovo. I don't think Keogh was there yet. He was in Toronto.
Yeah.
I got it.
Battleship Kelly.
Yep, forgot about him.
Oh, he had 20 that year.
Yes, he did.
I should know this, but I'm drawing a little bit of a blank.
Ian
A little before my time, I closely followed.
Did we say Lowell McDonald?
We
Yeah.
meant to.
Yeah,
We meant to.
Okay, that's 6.
he would be in there. Shutt not there yet.
That's before Malone.
Malone not there yet.
I'm going
Havlic's
to
not there yet.
just because I can't remember the last 3. So the onus is on you guys now because I'm going to have the answer.
Wow, I'm stumped.
And I'm not going to look it up. That wouldn't be fair. I'm having trouble too.
I'm
Before my time of closely following the Pens.
I'm looking it up just for the sole purpose of knowing the answer. I don't want you guys thinking I'm cheating.
Just tell us.
Okay, we said Apps. We said Arneson.
Yeah.
Apps with 24. Arneson 26. Vic Hadfield.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, I should have gotten that one.
Rick Kehoe was on the team. 32.
I didn't think Keogh was there yet, but maybe he was. Yeah. Okay.
He was. I wouldn't lie to you, Gary. Why does he think I lied to him?
So
I loved him.
missing one. Who are we missing?
He's a classy player.
John Pronovo. Oh. Okay. He had the C on his chest that year.
And this is what year? 75.
Not a Mojave.
Played on a line with all S's in the early 70s. All S's.
In Pittsburgh.
I don't know, Dave. Give me
Yeah, you have to help.
The Shack to Ronnie Shock.
Ronnie.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
23 goals. Imagine that 3 full lines of 20 goal scorers.
Wow.
I mean, look at the goal scoring. I'm playing in one of our games we play. I'm playing 78, 79. Look at the top goal scorers league. There was 9 guys that scored more than 50 goals. There was 7 that scored more than 40.
Maybe it was a WHA
I think it was part of it. I do think that it kind
I
of
think it was.
diluted the talent a little bit. I think they changed, just like the ABA changed basketball. I think they changed the way the NHL was playing. But I also think that those punishing fourth lines and some of that penalty minutes and stuff like that, more power play time, more open ice, and I think the equipment was a little bit smaller. There's a lot of reasons, but I mean, I just think the game had better balance than it does now. It's
Well,
faster now.
Just think about when they're playing the game without curved sticks.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I've shot with in street hockey. I've shot with a level stick, a straight stick, and it's not easy.
It is
Not
not.
And it doesn't give you the same velocity. Definitely not. But I do think
that's what makes that one Phil Esposito season when he had 76 and 76. That's, with the equipment they were using then, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah,
it is.
It is.
It is. It is.
No composite sticks, just your wooden flat blade. Have at it.
Well, a couple other things too, Chris. Think about it. Not much expansion. A little bit.
Right.
You had the second 6 and maybe 4 other teams after that, but not much expansion. Better players played more. Back then, fourth lines in the early 70s, in particular at Esposito's girl, you'd have a lot of fourth line activity, maybe 5 minutes a game. Less
Right.
skaters dressing.
Made a roster.
What's that?
Matt Cook wouldn't have made a roster.
No.
He would have had trouble. He would have been on one of the bad teams probably, maybe. But my point is your better players played more, particularly your defensemen in those days. Less expansion, and the equipment was certainly different.
So Dave, who else are we missing tough guy wise in Penguin history? Who else comes to mind for you?
For me, I was talking a little bit with Gary about this earlier. Rod Buskus.
He was a tough guy in the 80s. Yep.
Bit of an appendage. Shell Samuelson was a tough guy who wasn't in my mind a talented defensive player. He had the long reach.
He did.
Yep.
He wasn't necessarily a talented defensive player. Those are the two guys that really come to mind as far as were celebrities on the Penguins.
Well, then LaRock came here, and with the whole reputation of being a fighter, and he was a little.
And Ryan Reeves.
Prime. Ryan Reeves, right?
Ended the dynasty for the Penguins. This latest one, in my mind.
Sullivan just has no use for that kind of player. It's clear he has no use for.
And nor should he. I mean, I understand the whole concept of, I got to protect my players, blah, blah, blah. But you have a winning formula. Don't screw up the winning formula.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did with that.
Well, that's why I wanted to get back to the whole thing. What defines toughness?
To me, it's a guy that is physical in the realm of being able to play the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll buy that.
I agree.
Ulf Samuelsson, to me, is the ultimate tough guy. He is the toughest guy in Penguin history because he was a hell of a defender.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't want to piss him off.
I had him as my number one.
Yeah. He was a nasty, and he'd play 25, 26 minutes a night against top lines.
Yeah. I mean, the Hammer is a guy he could play a little hockey, but he was basically a scum. Rod Buskus had one of the great mustaches of all time.
Yes, he did.
But
Yes,
he was fairly useless. Gary, you had mentioned Pat Price, who had
Pat Price was here. He could fight too. He was kind of the end of his career.
But
what about Kasparaitis? Where do you guys put him?
He was certainly a tough guy, and you had to look over your shoulder with him. He had a little bit of Cook's aspects to me, but he's certainly another guy, probably 175 pounds. He could really contribute, and he certainly made you look over your shoulder.
He was an agitator.
I think he was more a pest. Yeah, I was going to say he's more a pest than a tough guy.
Yep.
I look at the other tough guys. The guy who you almost kicked his ass. I always respected the hell out of Kevin Stevens because he brought it. He didn't take any crap.
Nope.
He scored.
Nope.
He was he was for a while. He was the top left winger in hockey.
He was.
Yeah.
Until the injury, until the playoff injury, he really was.
What a horrific injury that was. That was like the most unbelievable thing I ever saw.
Yeah. He's never the same after that. Never, both hockey otherwise.
Certainly led to a downturn in his life.
Yep.
But also a story of redemption, though.
Absolutely, which is good. Now, who do you guys think is the toughest guy, not necessarily in the NHL, but in hockey history? And I'm going to let you say, but I'm going to tell you who it is.
Go ahead.
No, you take a guess.
I'm going to say it's the Gordie Howe. They got a Gordie Howe hat trick. Who else has something like that?
Yeah. Who's the bravest guy in hockey history? Gary.
Who was the what? I'm sorry?
Bravest guy in hockey history.
The bravest guy?
Bravest guy. You're going to be wrong, but tell me who you think.
I guess I got to think. I mean, when you say brave, I would think of a small guy that really played, like he wasn't a small guy. So I guess
He's nowhere near the answer, Chris.
What's the answer?
It's from. I'm blanking, David. It's from Slapshot, though, isn't it?
Oh, you're talking about that?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right,
it's
so
from that genre.
Oh,
the bravest guy in hockey history.
Bravest guy in hockey history. It's a real guy. We're not talking fiction. We're talking real.
Fran Renier. I don't know. Ooh.
Please, you're making me laugh with that one, Fletch.
I'm a little bit of a loss myself.
But you were close. You were close. It's Bob O'Brien.
Oh,
okay.
Bob O'Brien would make you, I don't know if he ever did this to you, but he'd go to the end of the hall at Duquesne. He'd cover his balls.
and he
Yeah.
make you take the slap shot.
You can't shoot harder than you shoot harder than that at me. And I would bring my cousin Fran down, and he was just like, his eyes would be wide open as Bob's screaming at him to shoot the puck harder. And, you know, he'd wear no pads. And he'd scream at you, he'd get in your face to shoot it as hard as you can. He just wanted to get hit with the hardest slap shot there was. There can be no braver human being.
No. The man who drank an entire case of beer in one sitting.
He was amazing, boy. Strongest human. One of the strongest human beings
of all time now.
you ever meet.
Threw up.
Wrists.
The 24th beer he threw up.
And drank it.
He drank it and he threw it up. Half the floor was denying his case claim. I was part of the ones this is so amazing. I'm giving you credit. I gave him credit for that last one.
Yeah.
He didn't. Many didn't. It probably tore our wing apart emotionally that day because of the controversy. You know, the argument ensued.
Well, let's take this another step here.
Okay.
Toughest pirate ever.
Toughest pirate ever. Head on.
I would. Oh, that one's tough to.
Yeah, I remember when
tough to argue.
Felix Miani practically broke his neck. Didn't he? Was it Felix Miani?
You know, but a baseball player named Felix, you deserve it. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, Ott was a tough. He looked like a wrestler or something.
Was.
Tyson type
He
of-
was,
I remember him trying to break someone's batting helmet one time. He was so pissed.
He was a tough dude. Yeah.
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 He's very ugly now, if we're saying ugly people.
You don't know ugly. In the background, there's the documentary on the '71 Pirates.
Uh-huh.
Jackie Hernandez. That, my friends, is an ugly man.
He was an ugly man. Billy and I saw him at the 40th anniversary in 2011. He bought tickets to a dinner, and Jackie Hernandez came, and he was pretty ugly then. The one great thing I remember about Jackie, though, is he jumped 32 times after
winning. Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, and I never noticed that until you mentioned it. I saw what you were talking.
Nobody hugged him.
No, he just did it all by himself. Yeah, yeah.
You know, he has teeth like a middle school dance. Boys on one side, girls on the other.
Guess we're not having him as a guest.
That's good.
You know, he was a pretty tough guy, Jim Gott. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
Jim Gott was a nasty guy, boy. You'd hit a loud foul off him, you'd make that ball be sailing up around your shoulders.
Now, talking about tough, I'm on Facebook today, and you know the great Swaggy B comes up.
Oh, look out!
Why does he have 12 bobbleheads of the same politician?
He is Swaggy B. I've given up, man.
The first question was, why would somebody make 12 bobbleheads of the same politician?
I don't have a bobblehead of a politician, I will admit.
Well, I remember when I was still working at the magazine. Now, Swaggy B in his working days did a lot of political work. He was the one who was spreading out a lot of PAC money.
Okay.
And he calls me and he says, by the way, when we were out last night, the FBI is taking pictures of us. I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
Tell me that after the fact. Yes. Yes.
You got to hook on the Swaggy B. He entertains the hell out of me every day.
Oh, it's beautiful. He stirs shit up and then he leaves.
It sounds like
it's
a Fletcher trait that I've learned. Yeah.
Oh, he did that up yesterday with somebody. Got this guy all fired up, and then he walks away. You know, some guy who was. We don't get into politics here, but you know, I'll be neutral. You know, he's some guy blaming the Democrats for the high gas tax in Pennsylvania, which of course, you know, Democratic governors and a Republican-controlled Congress have been raising gas taxes for 50 years. So
Right.
Yeah.
there's a lot to go
When
around.
it hasn't been. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I was about to chirp in, as you know, occasionally I'll do, and the swagster just kind of shut him up with the comment and ended it.
That was it.
Very, very impressive.
One punch knockout.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
back off.
One punch
I
bang.
said. Yeah.
Toughest Steeler.
Or Ernie Holmes.
Blunt, I think.
Oh,
Blunt was good. Mike Wagner.
I think they were all violent.
Yeah, they were nasty.
Yeah.
The whole group, you could probably say at one time or another. They were also much like Stevens in hockey. They were good.
I don't know. You look at those first couple years of Joe Green,
Oh yeah,
where he's just like punching the shit out of people.
one arm just hammer somebody. Like he can jump.
Scrotum, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Plus he was pissed because they were losing. So you had
Yep.
you had both of those dynamics going on.
And you could see when he was pissed. It wasn't hidden.
Yeah. Didn't he rip 2 scrotums in 2 consecutive years?
I believe he did.
I know. I remember the Paul Howard. I seem to remember another scrotum episode the year before. That puts you on a level of toughness above other people.
Doesn't get you invited to a lot of weddings, but yeah.
It doesn't. You know, I wonder if the blue pill will fix a torn scrotum.
Well, speaking. Okay, now we're going into another area here.
Yeah.
What I still think is the most horrific injury in sports was when Mike Liut's cup shattered.
I bend over now in honor of him. That was nasty. That was nasty. Did he rip his scrotum?
He
I
probably.
wouldn't want to be skating in the goal crease after that. That's all I know.
Because I'm thinking, if you really think about it,
Oh, here we go.
out of all the torn,
I'm so sorry.
the ripped scrotum has to be the most difficult injury in all of sports.
How do you rehab it? What do you do?
What do you do?
Just wait it out.
Ironically, there's
Wait it out.
a commercial for the Lorena Bobbitt movie, which is going to be on Lifetime, of course.
Of course it is.
You know,
Right.
did John Bobbitt get a movie that makes him the sympathetic hero? No.
At least it's not a Hallmark movie, because they said it during the holidays. They meet. Oh, yeah, I'm going to hell.
This is an interesting segue from the toughest Penguin forwards to Lorena Bobbitt.
Oh,
If you are going to marry Lorena Bobbitt, you have to be the toughest son of a bitch.
I would think you're pretty damn tough. Yeah, not much.
that's a hell of a prenup right there, buddy.
Not much is scaring you. That's right. That's exactly right.
Or I guess that would be a prenut. I don't know.
Or you're seriously drunk at the time you've agreed to do it and
Oh.
stayed that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. You talk about horrific marriage injuries. That could be the most horrific marriage injury of all.
But then there's Matthew Barnaby. Just said, I got to bring it back somehow,
Talk about an
I
agitator.
think from what I heard, Matthew Barnaby never had a scrotum form.
Not that we're aware of, at least.
With
Right.
confidence.
Right. His career ended pretty quickly, so who knows? Maybe he did, Dave. We just don't know.
Maybe it was a self-torn. Maybe he was cutting grass.
But Gary, do you think this current Penguins team, whenever they do come back, that they need to have a tough guy, perhaps a tough guy with an iron scrotum at that point?
Of course, who doesn't need that? We all need that. Every team needs that.
Oh, man.
Every team needs that. Well, we're going to be playing the Stanley Cup playoffs the way it sounds in September, and then we're going to take a couple weeks off. We'll start the
September?
season. So,
Play in July, my friend.
or July, is that what they're talking about?
Yeah.
So
You
they'll
play
have to shower. They'll have to shower. They'll have to shower as well when they get back to the hotel room. Keep the
Yeah.
skates on and all. So
This is going to be a bizarre playoff. We may have the worst Stanley Cup champion of all time with it.
we might with team number 24, right? So
Wow.
Anyways, I have enjoyed from the tough guy to the voice to the scrotum.
I'm telling you, this was
Connect the
a
dots.
many and varied one.
Connect the dots.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
You guys too.